Hello everyone, Kenti Tiger here with Bengali Engineering in Play. We are back in Space Engineers, and actually this is kind of an interim series. So let me pan around here. So you remember our character here found this planet, and let me see. There's a moon somewhere. There's well, somewhere. Um, try and find everything. There's the moon. So we're calling this. This is about 500 meters across, I guess. Um, and there is a hollowed out 200 meter spherical area in the very center. So this kind of looks like a perfect sphere, which it is. It is a generated atmosphere, or sorry, asteroid. I don't know where atmosphere came from. And what I wanted to do, the intention here is that this will be the asteroid base. Why is the asteroid base important? I'm thinking about turning on meteors. And I may actually use the normal setting just because, it's space. There's meteors in space. Now, whether the meteor showers are realistic or not, don't know. And having an asteroid, meteors impacting with asteroids are not much of an issue. So having a base inside an asteroid actually seemed kind of like a good idea, and a lot of people do that. Now, why did I pick a generated asteroid versus a some other type of asteroid? Couple reasons. Number one, I can generate this thing wherever I want it. So this seemed to be the perfect place, which is just outside of the gravity well of the planet. You can see the gravity well here. Class M, 60.68 kilometers. So right around 53-ish kilometers from that marker. That marker is not in the center of the planet, but so about 52, 53, we get the outer edge of the gravity well. So I wanted this just slightly outside the gravity well, so I don't have to be dealing with gravity while we're out here. There may be artificial gravity when we get this whole setup set up. Sorry for that redundancy there. So what the goal here was to get an outer area. So this tunnel, so I have already tunneled through, and of course being out of character right now, the tunnel, I did the tunnel with voxel hands and pre-built stuff. So in other words, I was not playing survival for the sake of survival. I wasn't welding every block and that sort of thing. So here's the tunnel. In here is a shield generator, large shield generator. So we'll go ahead and close that. Of course, I've already got air vents down. So this is in fact pressurized. So you can see the asteroid base marker here. So there's the airlock at that end, which of course is the outer end. These are Darth Biomech large gates here. All right, oops, I just vacated the air there because, and there are some temporary things. So one of the things you notice here in the floor, they're a little hard to see as we were traveling down because I put plate down, was my standard triple independent conveyor system, which is the pull in here, The green in the middle is the normal supply system, and then the fuel ice conveyor system here is the blue. Those will be independent all the way down. Why do I have them tied in right now? Because no reason. It was practical. That's probably the only thing I can say about that. So underneath here, hard to see, but it's a reactor. This is a Kenti reactor, so it's a temporary reactor. The intention will be to put in, I want to say vanilla parts. For the most part, I will stick with vanilla, or that's the intention, is to stick with vanilla. Obviously, this environment, this scenario is not vanilla. So I don't really have any problems with there being non-vanilla parts in here, but I think some people on occasion will watch something just to see how to do something. So the series, or the intention of the next series, is actually twofold. Building this base. So here's the room. So I don't think past the there's the marker. I don't think, even sitting myself on top of this marker, I don't think the marker is in fact in the center of the room, because this over here feels like it's closer than this over here. So this is supposed to be about 200 meters across, if all the calculations worked out. So what I asked for in the generation was 200 meters of empty space, which should be this. Then I picked a slot, a side, a space, and I tried to get it as close to the center as I could, and as you can see here, it's not. The angle here gives that away, that I really did put this slightly in the wrong place, but it's there. Now, had I my druthers and was really doing some advanced planning and everything, then I probably would have considered a little better. The angle to the planet outside is not what I wanted. So this is about 90 degrees off. If you imagine rotating this whole thing clockwise 90 degrees, that would be about what I wanted, what I had intended. The problem is when you're building stuff through an asteroid and you're cutting holes, it gets a little bit challenging, because the voxel grid is completely different than the block grid, and I have no idea why Keen chose to do it that way. To me, it seems like obviously we have to have two grids. They're two different things. The game mechanics deals with them in two different ways, but why do you need completely independent grids? Which is to say, why does the orbital of each grid, the axes of each grid, have to be so dramatically different? You can only place blocks so many different directions, so why does the voxel grid have to not line up even remotely with the block grid? To me, it just seems, a little bit of symmetry would make life easier all the way around. So I guess the real question is, how often do you build a base within an asteroid, and how much of a problem is it really? And I don't know. I'm not sure there's a quick, clean answer to that one. To me, it seems every time you actually attempt to build something in the asteroid, then you're fighting with the voxel grid versus the block grid, and it's just in general a pain in the ass. But yeah, anyway, not wanting to get off on a rant. So the intention getting back to this, here's a pretty good sized space, and whether I actually use this space, the space is quite a bit bigger than what I really intend to use. I mean, after all, how much stuff do you really need in a base? If we kind of go down the mental checklist, we need our processing, which is to include refineries and assemblers. So those are our main processing. Obviously, we need storage. So however much storage we choose to have here. We need the gaseous systems, so hydrogen and oxygen. Hydrogen to supply a ship that comes in for dock, whether it be your own or faction type things. And we need power, whether that be reactors or batteries or both. I tend to do both. I don't like to have space that's otherwise useless. So I tend to, especially building a station where mass is irrelevant. Your station is your station. Because the station isn't going to move, it's a static grid, then having a bazillion batteries doesn't matter. But batteries play a very important role because they keep you can actually run out of uranium, and your batteries will hold you for a while. You can go on that frantic search for, oh my God, where is uranium? I need to find that. And you actually have the time and a little bit of luxury to do that, especially if you have a gazillion batteries. In fact, probably the bigger problem with having a gazillion batteries is you don't notice when you run out of uranium because all the lights are still on. So the intention here was I've got a temporary setup. So if I think about things in terms of role play, which is what this series was all about, then the role play is Commander Kenti is actually going to build this. So it really gives at least a portion of the season something for him to do. So it's the construction of the base here, the inside the asteroid. So he's really got the luxury to do it. Already got one shielding system in. So my intention was to literally get this outer portion done, which is really to say the tunnel, the temporary power, and temporary oxygen. Worthy of note here, yes, this is a gigantic ball of stone. So the reality is this would be pressurizable. But one of the limitations within the game still is that pressurization is relative to blocks, not voxels. So one of the things you notice, even though this is a great big gigantic sphere with about 150 meters in radius, to the outer edge, the space side. So we're talking about an awful lot of insulation here. There's no way for air to escape, but because the air tightness is relative to the blocks, and the blocks don't cover all of this, then there's still the issue, which is why you see that this air vent is showing open to space, even though we're not actually. So let me get back in here, and again, the only thing in here are these two gas generators. These are our Kenti oxygen and hydrogen tanks. So even though they say oxygen, because I have not yet delved into the realm of models, which is to say, what I want to do is create a unique tank, and I have no idea what that unique tank will look like You know, even if I just purchase the rights or get permission to borrow the rights to somebody else's model would be fine. But you know, an oxygen tank, and it doesn't have to be anything fancy, and a hydrogen tank. So something that actually says oxygen and something that says hydrogen is all I want. Um, so I why did I develop these? Well, these two happen to be totally overpowered. Um, so this oxygen tank I think is like 10 times the size of a normal oxygen tank, um, and so a hydrogen tank, normal large grid hydrogen tank, is 3 by 3 by 3, right? Which is just huge. Does it really need to be that big? And my answer is no. So this one here, which happens to be, I think it's actually this one is the hydrogen tank, um, it is actually about 10 times the size of the game's vanilla hydrogen tank, all in this size. So it's totally overpowered. Um, but I wanted a small block item, which is to say a large block, but it doesn't take up a boatload of space. I just want something that works. So again, this is part of really the core philosophy of most of Kenti blocks, is how do I do what I do without having to design so incredibly absurdly large to compensate for really the limited technologies of the game. So that's what happened here. So all that's here are these two gas generators, hydrogen tank, oxygen tank, and a reactor, which are now powering. This tunnel, of course, goes all the way through, as I already showed you. So let's close that up, open this up, and you'll see we repressurized here. So we have, don't know what happened there, so we'll fix that. So turn that sideways, line it up with everything else, get back to Tiger Orange here, which in DX11 isn't really Tiger Orange. And then we fly through. So this tunnel cuts its way through the edge of the asteroid, the asteroid, and is now the only entrance to the tunnel. This here is shield generator. So I wanted a shield generator for protection purposes. So this area out here will ultimately be armed, because it's the only outer section of the asteroid. So this is the outer airlock. You can see it is pressurized. So let's we'll go ahead and close that door, open that door, and here we are outside. So closing that up again. So the one thing left to accomplish here while out of character is the dock, which is what is going to be out here in this area. So babbling just a bit more, the intention of the series is twofold. One is building this base, which is going to be probably 4 or 5 episodes, however long it takes to build something, covering all the basic stuff. You know, I'm not going to go totally overkill. You know, part of my inclination is to fill the whole damn space, but you know that can happen as we need to. We can build what we need right now, and limit the space to that, and then you know, basically put a door airlock out the back, which is to say still inside the space, but out the back, and then as we need to expand, we expand. So we put in more hydrogen tanks, more oxygen tanks, more large storage containers, all that sort of thing. So everything that's out there is out there and ready to go, and we can expand on it as we need it. So that's one of the intentions. The other intentions are twofold. There's two more mods that I want to put onto this world. One is called Better Ores, Better Stone. Let me look that up real quick. I want to make sure I'm expressing that correctly. So I might have to relog into Steam here. No, I guess not. So let me Better Stone. All right. So let me bring this over onto the screen so you can actually see it. So this is obviously my Steam Workshop list. I'm gonna blow it up for you so we can actually see. So the two that I want to bring into this world are Better Stone, and what Better Stone does is give me a second. Let me just open in new window. So Better Stone takes all of the ore. So there's the 10 ores or 10 raw materials, which is really 9 raw materials and ice, and it kind of applies reality. So the concept here. I thought I actually had a description here. So the reality is that very rarely do you find pure anything. It's always something mixed in with something else. So the idea here, so like it says, major functions introduction adds lots of different ores to find and exploit. No longer just pure metal. So it's no longer the pure 9 or really 10 elements that you have in the game. It's a mix of those. Now you can find the pure ones too, but they're usually few and far between. And so minor function reduces the overall stone output. So there's actually more real stuff out there. So trace amounts of ice added to the various stones, so survival in space is now more possible on a random iceless spawn. Rare iron ore is denser with iron, so there's actually a reason to harvest it. So, which is kind of neat. And then you have all these different ones. So you've got your common metals, your precious metals, your solids, and your energized ingots or your rare earth elements, as it is. So uranium, which is really the only rare earth in this. So common metals, why do we call them common? Because those are the ones that actually the arc furnace will take and do something with. So we still have all of these, and these still exist in the game exactly as they do otherwise. But what we created, or what this mod creates, are all of these other names and elements, and you will still see these. These are still, as I said, in the game as they are. But you see all of these things, so you're kind of looking at it and thinking, what the heck is that? And so you end up having to come back to this webpage and actually identify what it is. Oh, okay, that's what that is. And you can see that there's a lot of these that are mixed in. So we have a nickel and platinum here that's called cuprite, or cuparite. I'm not sure how exactly that's pronounced. So pyrite, for those of you who remember, is fool's gold. And this really isn't fool's gold, it's iron and gold, real gold. So you see all these different things, and some of them are just something as another name. So like this one, hazelwoodite, is really just nickel. Catarite, I really enjoyed that one. Or catierite, I don't know how that's really pronounced, but it is just cobalt. And then you have these various mixes. So porphyry, I guess, which is gold. sperrylite, which is another version for platinum. Here's another version of platinum. Now, if I understand right, these are actually all based on real names. Now, I don't know if that's entirely true, but that's what I understand from having read about this mod. So anyway, you see these mixes here, which are actually kind of neat because for example, you harvest a bunch of cohenite, and you pitch that into your refinery, and your refinery is actually spitting out iron, nickel, and cobalt. So it's kind of neat stuff. Kamacite is again, you're seeing these mixes of metals that, as they're refining, actually give you traces of these other elements. So it's actually a really neat mod. And you can see from the picture up here, it does actually change. Let me scroll backwards here. It changes some of the colors and everything of the minerals, and so now you have unique. So you can see here. I mean, I'm not really zoomed in, but let me zoom in. So you see all these different ones that are now different colors. So, you know, AU, silicon, magnesium, did they have? So uranium is actually, you know, almost goldish color. So all of these different colorations that are a little more accurate to what they are in real life. So here we go, gold, silver. And it's not that the colors in game, you know, aren't what they should be. They're not inaccurate. But you know, as you can see, ice is a very crystalline structure. So seeing ice as just a glob of blue is kind of strange. So, but anyway, so this one I really want to put into the mix for the world. The other one is this exploration enhancement. In fact, this mod alone is what really spawned the whole concept, and in no small part, one of my favorite, I've got 3 or 4 of them, favorite space engineers YouTubers is doing a series that's basically mod everything, but he's using this exploration enhancement mod. So a little bit of a plug for the XP gamers out there, Captain Shack and the XP gamers. So exploration, it adds a lot of really neat stuff to the game. Large number of factions, police, military. So let's actually jump out here so you can see. Adds a whole new variety, and this whole thing pulled in a bunch of ships with permission, I'm presuming, from the Steam Workshop. And so you've got all kinds of a video there that you can see, space stations, all kinds of ships that you can run into and see. Different little drones and everything. This is down on the planet's surface. Ooh, with a spider. So a little lander here. And it's not to say that you will see all of this, but you will see a random spattering of stations, of ships. So here's a couple of the stations that you will see. Some of these ships are mined, so you go and start trying to play with them, and they will blow up in your face. Trade stations, it actually introduces a trade mechanism, so you can go to some of these trade stations and sell things and get credits for them. They call them credits, and it looks like a little I hate to quote Star Trek, but the analogy is apt. An isolinear chip, it kind of looks like that. It's flat. It looks kind of like a half of a credit card. I mean, it's pretty cool. They did a really good job. But all of these various mods that were on the Steam Workshop that are now incorporated into this exploration enhancement mod, um, and you can see by the sheer number of people using this that it's really neat. So here's what it says: a huge expansion for your survival gameplay experience. Gameplay overall, bringing you space simulator experience. Over 200 new ships, stations, wreckages, and more. Huge thanks to all the workshop authors contributed in this mod. Your creation is what's making it unique. Huge mod scripting overhaul, new AI, new advanced security systems, faction relations. Check the changelog. So trading, we got a lot of trading. I'm not going to read through all of this just because I'm not going to insult your intelligence. You can go to the website and actually look at it. So once again, exploration enhancement mod. You can actually look that up and read it to your heart's content. So trading, this is, and I've played in this. It can get a little laggy. So I do have to give that warning out there. So when you have a lot of mods running and a lot of ships get rezzed in your world, the game starts working pretty hard. Police. Police are never going to bother you unless you take up piracy or start attacking other factions or civilian ships. If the police cannot properly subdue you, then they call in the military, and the military then comes in and stomps on you. Random encounters. Well, random encounters is random encounters. So more random encounters and more different types of encounters. So you're going to see it all. Debris, wreckage, ambush. You have a very, very active pirate element in here. If they seek you out next to your base, they will start sending pirate ships after you. So it gets pretty interesting. Cargo ships, and you can cooperate with them. So here's what it says: a lot of new cargo ships, and all of them will react if you attack them, calling the police and fleeing or engaging in fighting. Capturing cargo ships is now more challenging, but also well rewarded. Huge variety of sizes, from small scout space bikes to huge dromedary trader and Allant high security transport. So I don't know what either one of those are, but I believe in when it's the variety, and I've seen some of the variety. There's lots of stuff. Pirates, more pirates. Now they're not just drones, but fighters, corvettes, and frigates with pilots in the flight seats. They also have some stealthy grinder drones and ships, mostly in ambushes. Don't let them get too close. Most of the pirate ships can call for help with certain chance. Custom factions. So you have all these main factions and then various player-made factions added in. And so you can see, obviously, the civilians start out as friendly. The police are neutral for good reason. Military forces are neutral. The independent traders start out as friendly. This one is hostile and remains hostile throughout. And also your pirate, obviously, is hostile. Corporation is neutral. Shipyards is neutral. Hyperion Systems is neutral. And Bahrain Industries is friendly. Extraterrestrial Mining Corporation also friendly. So you can, in I think most cases with these neutral auxiliary factions, actually make friends with these guys. So the only ones that I had that were hostile were the pirates in this corporation. So respawn ships, you get a variety of respawn ships. And then tells you a lot about some of the different folks who were involved with all this. So there's a lot of stuff going on in this, but overall they did a really good job in making this all work. So again, one of the core elements in this series from the get-go was to put this exploration mod in. It's in fact why Commander Kenti ended up discovering the large shipyard, because his intention was to be able to capture these derelict craft. He was not interested in piracy, but find these derelict craft. So he wanted to effectively make a fairly large-scale tug, and then grab these things, haul them back to the shipyard where all of them can be dismantled for parts, and ultimately sell the parts, and eventually build himself, as he goes along, a ship where he can effectively fly home. Now, I guess the very cliche-ish, fly off into the proverbial sunset kind of a concept. But obviously a series can't run indefinitely unless it's just exploration for sake of exploration. And I could very well do that, but because I chose to kind of do an RP style, then there's got to be kind of the end game. Obviously, Commander Kenti eventually wants to get home to everybody that he knows, his friends, his family. He is a naval officer, so he ultimately does feel a very profound sense, in fact, to get back to his own, and pass on the word that his shipmates have passed away. So again, maybe the concept, within the confines of a military world, that's just part of the sense of duty. No man left behind. You take your own and you carry them home, even if you carry them home in spirit alone. So it's a military thing. So will we ever actually accomplish that within the scope of the series? I don't know, but adding some of these elements in, I think, would be a lot of fun. So this is one of the two mods that I want to add into this and just have a great time with it. Having said that, let me go ahead and we'll close that down, get this off our screen, put this back over on the other screen here, get it shrunk back down to size. It's way too big on the other screen. It's the other screen is just HD. So that's weird. Adding those two mods in, which would really give Commander Kenti something to do. The planet is sitting here, so we could take this in a completely different direction if we wanted to, and I would actually like to eventually do that. Because obviously there's resources, there's opportunities down there, so this was one of the purposes. So having said all that, some of the goals. So the exploration thing, and right now I'm trying to find. So that's the center there, the asteroid. Now, one of the other things is I'm gonna move some stuff around. So the moon is pretty good. I mean, if we take the moon is 250,000 kilometers away from the Earth. So are we going to make everything realistic? Well, no, not really. But I want to get this asteroid in a little closer. 121 kilometers is a bit far away, to the point where it's not really helpful. The planet obviously over here, and right now the shipyard is out of antenna range, which is why I can't see it, and I have not put a GPS locator on it yet. So what I want to do is eventually get things. I want to get the shipyard so it's just outside the gravity well, and then it may actually end up very close to this particular base. One of the things that that Commander Kenti might actually do is build an external portion to this base, which incorporates quite a few nanite control factories. Now, why would I do that? 32 nanite control factories actually contribute a lot to lag. So, because every single one of those factories is running a script. And the script does a whole lot of stuff, very useful and all that, but it's kind of one of these trade-offs that it's nice to have a lot of nanite factories going because you can accomplish a whole lot in a very short period of time, as long as you can keep parts into those suckers. But you have the downside of lag, because now you have 36 or 32 in my case independent running scripts. So every single one of those is running a script. It's doing its own independent thing, and keeping track of what it's doing. So that does take CPU time. It takes processing. So it is a contributor to lag. So if I were to, taper things off and maybe do a like a 2x4 grid or a 2x6 grid or a 3x4 grid or something like that, that would be a lot smaller. So it wouldn't cause as much lag, but would still be able to dismantle things as Commander Kenti wants to. Then it may be something worth doing. Plus, if I had all this processing, which is to say the nanite control factories outside, but all of the processing capability and everything already built on the inside of the station, then that would mean a lot smaller external portion. That literally just the shipyard portion of that would be on the outside. So having said all that, here's one of the things I meant, that by spinning this 90 degrees now from this angle, or rather this end, counterclockwise, then I would literally step off this platform per se and be like this. So I would literally be just turning sideways and looking at the planet. But as the saying goes, it is what it is. It is what I built by oops, so it is what's going to stay. So too late to do anything. Other than I really could pull this out, use voxel hands and hollow everything out in a different place. I mean, I could get totally OCD and fix my oops. But I'm not gonna. So I'm just gonna leave it there and deal with it, as they say. So that's the plans. So this is the first in the kind of interim series where I'm totally and completely out of character, and more just building. So I'm gonna stop this episode because I've spent a lot of time babbling about the future intentions, and the next interim episode will actually be building the dock area, because I do want a dock area. Now what he does with that dock area, I have no idea. So the dock, which is my standard dock, which may actually require that I put one more mod on. So I used Sectan's tunnels, so extendable tunnels, in a couple of my mods, or a couple of my worlds rather, and so I might do that. So there may be one more mod coming. Now, it's always handy to have a letters mod or signs or something like that. Sectan has like 6 of them, and I really do appreciate their work. They do really fine stuff. Sectan is another one like Digi, who just has a completely absurd variety of mods available. Really neat stuff. So if you have not checked out Sectan and what they have been able to accomplish in the workshop, you're definitely missing out. Digi is another one. Having said all that, I'm going to sign off for this episode, and we will join you again next time.